Well, the offense did what we've been asking them to do all season long, which was start fast. They finally started fast, 35 points in the first half, and albeit, even though they started fast, could they have ended the game a little bit better? Yeah. For the way that this offense played, putting up 38 points definitely feels underwhelming. However, I'm not going to complain too much. This game went really, really well. Ohio State finally started to look like a team that could go out and dominate the teams that they're supposed to dominate. The defense continues to hold up their end of the bargain. They played absolutely phenomenally. Don't really have too much to talk about in this game, to be honest. One, hopefully you do like this setup for my Ohio State fan reactions. I know this is where I record my Friday videos as well, but there are some things that I rearranged in my room, so my other setup not really going to work. So I figured, hey, this would be a pretty nice place to do it. And also, apologies if my hair is crazy. I have tried to let it dry out of the shower, but it just won't dry. Probably because I have really thick hair. But hey, anyway, what's up, Tailgaters? You're in the booth with Tailgate Nate today. That is my name. My name is Tailgate Nate. Welcome to my channel. I am an Ohio State fan. You see by all the things behind me, by the jersey I am wearing. I bleed scarlet and gray, but I also love the sport of college football, and that is exactly what this channel is about. If you want to see me talk about college football, not just about my beloved Ohio State Buckeyes, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell. I post all sorts of videos here, preview predictions, fun videos come out Fridays, top 25s, everything you could ask for. So I encourage you, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, do everything you can to help support the channel, like, comment, share. Again, anything you do to interact with the channel helps to support it. So whatever you guys are able to do means a lot to me. But let's go ahead and dive on in to talk about this game. So we are going to start with the defense, because the defense is the point of where you look across the entirety of Ohio State's season this year, the defense has been the most consistent thing. The offense has had its ups, it's had its downs, but the defense as a whole has continued to be one of the best defenses in the country, and probably just confirms in this game that they may very well be the second best defense in the country behind the Michigan Wolverines. At least statistically, you could make the case on why this is the best defense in the country, and they were without a lot of key pieces today. Now, is Michigan State's offense anything sort of explosive? No, not at all. Kane Hauser ended up getting the start at quarterback. He played pretty solidly. I mean, had some good moments, 12 of 24 for 92 yards. The running game was able to get going at times for Michigan State as well. Nathan Carter, Jared Mangum are two pretty solid backs there for the Michigan State Spartans. Wide receivers made a couple really good plays there as well. But again, this Michigan State offense has been nothing special all year long. It was not going to be here in this game in the Horseshoe against the Ohio State Buckeyes. Oh, by the way, chef's kiss on the gray jersey. By the way, that is just, those jerseys are awesome. I always love when Ohio State rolls out with these alternate jerseys. I still think the black ones with the red lettering are the best ones that they have ever put out that they don't normally wear. But boy, howdy, these gray jerseys, woo, they went hard. They went hard. They were very, very clean. I like those jerseys a lot. Anyway, got sidetracked. Back to talking about this defense. Again, thought the defense played really, really well, and they were without a lot of key pieces today. I believe both Ransom and Proctor were out, as well as Tommy Eichenberg did not play. Cody Simon ended up stepping up in his place there. And you know what? Led the way in tackles for the Buckeyes in this game. I mean, pretty much everybody got a tackle here in this game for the Ohio State Buckeyes. Again, the defense didn't necessarily have to work too hard here in this game, although they did provide some really, really good things here. Taking a look at what else they've done here. 6 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, 5 passes defended, and again, this Ohio State defense is scary because they're holding opponents to these low totals without really generating a ton of pressure and without forcing takeaways, yet they still had Michigan State to 3 points, as they should have. This is the game that you're supposed to come out and dominate. Ohio State did come out and dominate. Probably figured that it was going to be a lot more as soon as we saw the first half. But hey, I'm still really, really happy with the way that this offense looked. Again, I've already said it. Could it have ended better? Yes, we probably could have hung 50 if we really wanted to. You'll go out and you'll talk to Ryan Day, Kyle McCord, really anyone you want to, and they'll tell you we did not finish the way that we wanted to finish. Now, obviously, it doesn't matter against a team like Michigan State, but moving down the pipeline, there's a big one coming up here in 2 weeks. Now, I am going to talk about that game a little bit here. Again, I'm not going to be a fan that looks way ahead to the Michigan game, but I think everyone pretty much knows that that's the game that's going to decide it all for better or worse. But this Ohio State offense, I thought, even though they didn't put up the point total that maybe a lot of people thought they were going to put up as this game got along, I think the offense had one of, if not its best performance of the season, specifically from the quarterback, Kyle McCord. Here is his stat line from last night's game. 24 of 31 for 335 yards and 3 touchdowns, a 98.1 QBR. That's his highest of the season. Set career high in completions, set a career high in yards, 3 touchdowns. Really, really good stuff from him. Also, really, really good things from Marvin Harrison Jr. I mean, he played like a true Heisman contender here in this game. Honestly, at this rate, I'd be kind of surprised if Marvin Harrison Jr. doesn't at very least get an invite to go to New York City as a Heisman finalist, because he sure as hell played like it in this game. 7 catches, 149 yards, 2 touchdowns, and even had a rushing touchdown as well. So just looking at Marvin Harrison Jr., you take a look here at his total stats. He touched the ball 8 times for 168 yards and 3 touchdowns. Again, one of those touchdowns being a 19-yard little end-around play. They like to run that play with X or with Emeka. They ran it with Harrison. It was just about time that they got the ball to Marvin Harrison Jr. That was his first touch of the game. Marvin Harrison Jr. with the first 3 touchdowns for Ohio State in this game. He's an absolutely dynamic weapon. TreVeyon Henderson had a touchdown in this game as well. 13 carries for 63 yards, 4.8 yards per carry with 1 touchdown there as well. And then Cade Stover got into the end zone off a beautiful throw by Kyle McCord. That's just kind of throwing your guy open. Kyle McCord really did that a lot in this game. I thought Kyle McCord definitely played his best game as an Ohio State Buckeye. He looked really, really good. His footwork finally settled down. He was finally settling his feet, setting his feet, the short step and throw, exactly what you want to see out of your quarterback. He did everything that you could have asked for. So good stuff from Kyle McCord. Really, really, really good stuff. Very, very happy with the way that Kyle McCord played here in this game. Honestly, could not be happier with the way that Kyle McCord played it in this game. Were there some drops? Yes. Were there some inconsistency things? Okay, sure, maybe, but I'm not going to be too nitpicky here. Ohio State did what it had to do. The defense was phenomenal. The offense was great from, I can't really say from start to finish, but at least throughout the entirety of that first half, they were fantastic. Again, could they have ended better? Yes, and I genuinely believe Ohio State probably could have scored 70 if they really put their minds to it, but obviously Marvin Harrison Jr. went out midway through the third quarter because they didn't need his services anymore, so why risk an injury to Marvin Harrison Jr.? Good to see Cade Stover back healthy. He was the second leading receiver in this game. Emeka had 1 catch, which you probably want to get Emeka Egbuka a little bit more involved in the offense. Now, Emeka and Cade may not fully be at 100% quite yet, but you're definitely going to want to get Emeka the football a lot more here in the game against the Minnesota Golden Gophers coming up here in just under 1 week. Because for the very fact that you need him to be a dynamic part in the game on November 25th. You can't just rely on TreVeyon and Marvin Harrison Jr. because sure, why those guys are going to make their plays, that probably is not going to be enough to get through Michigan. So Emeka needs to be involved. Cade needs to be involved. And you may even need to have a guy like Dallin Hayden step in there and play that game. Now I know they're trying to redshirt Dallin Hayden. Again, definitely didn't need him in this game, and you won't need him in that game in Columbus next week against the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Could we see Dallin Hayden being someone that gets bust out here against the Michigan Wolverines? Potentially. You never know. Honestly, I'd be kind of surprised if it does happen. But if it does happen, I think all of the state of Ohio will definitely see how good of a running back Dallin Hayden is if you haven't really seen already. Good job to get some of the young guys in here. Evan Pryor had 7 carries, so he tore his ACL last year. Hasn't really gotten a lot of playing time this year, and he stepped in When again, Travion Henderson, Xavier Johnson, Chip Trainum, services weren't really needed anymore, albeit 2.9 yards per carry. Not the greatest stat, but he did have some pretty good moments there when he was in. Lincoln Kienholz. So there's a name that we haven't seen on the field yet for Ohio State this year. Devin Brown may still be battling an injury here and there, but Lincoln Kienholz, the freshman, ends up stepping in here, and again, only threw three passes, only had 18 yards on 2 completions, but honestly, I mean, looked pretty solid to me. I thought did a good job running the offense, and can't really ask for more than that when your team is already up 35 and you get asked to step in here. So I mean, that's really kind of all I had here on this game because, I mean, what really is there to talk about? Now, I guess you could look forward and say, is Ohio State still going to be the number 1 team in the country? I don't know. And in my opinion, because Georgia looked really impressive, Michigan was able to finally get a marquee win there against the Penn State Nittany Lions. And albeit if Ohio State stays number 1, great, good for them. If they fall to number 2, use it as motivation. I guess, but it doesn't really matter because that game on November 25th is going to decide everything. And I don't care if it's 1-2, 2-3, 3-4, whatever way the College Football Playoff Committee sets it up, that game on November 25th will be the biggest game of the college football season, just as it was last year, and quite possibly just as it was the year prior as well. The game finally means something. And again, if you didn't watch my latest video on the suspension for Jim Harbaugh, I am very, very pressed and upset that Jim Harbaugh will not be on the sideline for that game because you love to see the game played when both teams are at full strength. And while both teams may end up being very healthy, or at least knock on wood, I hope both of them will be very healthy again. Ohio State still has some pieces that they'd like to try to get back, especially in that secondary, that are going to be very vital to playing against the Michigan Wolverines. But Michigan, it was their first big test this year, and albeit Penn State at the beginning of the year might not be what everyone thought they were going to be, but that's still by far and away the best team that Michigan has played, and Michigan performed pretty darn well. Now, it was windy, it was rainy, J.J. McCarthy only threw 8 passes, and Blake Corum had some really, really good moments, but was also limited in moments as well. The thing that I was impressed with Michigan in that game was the way that Donovan Edwards was really able to wake up. Donovan Edwards woke up, gave this Michigan team a spark, and that's exactly why the scoreboard read 24-15 instead of maybe something like 16-15 or 17-15 or maybe 17-13 or something like that. I think Donovan Edwards had a huge part there in helping Michigan convincingly pull away from the Penn State Nittany Lions. And again, Michigan, very, very scary team. I've had them at number 1 pretty much all season long. They've been jostling back and forth with the Georgia Bulldogs. But right now, I think the top 3 teams in the nation are undeniable. I think it's Michigan, I think it's Georgia, and I think it's Ohio State. Now, you could make the case for Florida State. You could make the case for Washington. Here, I'll retract that statement and I'll say the top 5 teams in the nation, I think right now are undeniable just because they're all undefeated. Again, maybe you can make the case for Oregon to be in there and all sorts of things. But at the very least here, I do believe Michigan and Georgia to be the top 2 teams in the nation. Now, as far as the Ohio State Buckeyes go, are you going to stay number 1 come Tuesday? Maybe, although looking at the way that my apologies. Looking at the way that Georgia just looked against Ole Miss, that was supposed to be a much more that was supposed to be a much bigger test than it actually ended up being for the Georgia Bulldogs. They went out and manhandled them, and there have been a lot of people that have been doubting Georgia this year. I hope that I'm not considered as one of them. However, just looking at the way that Georgia played that game, I mean, they look very, very, very impressive. Even though Ohio State did not finish the game the way that you probably wanted, this definitely was a very, very impressive performance, especially offensively. This team finally was able to start hot offensively, which is what I think a lot of Buckeye Nation was not necessarily begging, but just really, really or maybe begging. I don't know. Some of the Buckeye Nation may have been begging them to do so, just to start fast and be able to put that first foot forward really, really well and be able to have this offense explode early And that is exactly what happened here in this game. A lot shorter of an Ohio State fan reaction video today. Again, you have the Minnesota Golden Gophers on November 18th. That is coming up this upcoming Saturday. And then it is the big one. When you take a look at the Michigan Wolverines, they have to go on the road to play the Maryland Terrapins, which, watch out, Maryland can be a sneaky team, even though they haven't necessarily looked as good as they did back in September. But no matter what, whether Ohio State loses to Minnesota, whether Michigan loses to Maryland, whether both lose or whether they both win, that game on November 25th is going to decide everything. It is going to decide everything. The Big Ten East on the line and a trip to the college football playoff, because I guarantee you any team that is coming out of the Big Ten West is going to get curb stomped by either Ohio State or by the Michigan Wolverines. That game, the game on November 25th, will decide everything. Everything. So I am very, very excited to watch that game. I think Michigan's got a really, really good team. I think Ohio State has a really, really good team, and they're going to go head-to-head in the Big House on November 25th. I can't wait. Can it be here now, please? I'm really, really looking forward there to that game. But the Buckeyes got one more game before that one. You have to play the Minnesota Golden Gophers. And, with the way that Minnesota looks this season, offense hasn't necessarily been there all the time this year. The defense has had their moments, but they just got hung, I think, 42 or 49 on by the Purdue Boilermakers. So we'll see what happens there in that game. I'm expecting Ohio State to play another really, really good game. But they do what they need to do. They beat the spread. They dominate Sparty throughout the first half. And sure, it didn't end like a lot of people thought it was going to end. Still, a dominant performance from start to finish as Ohio State leads Michigan State, or I should say beats Michigan State 38-3. 2 games left in the regular season. Going to be an interesting end to the college football season as well. We got 9 teams remaining in college football playoff contention. That'll do it for this video. Remember to play hard but tailgate harder. Check out my other videos, please. I beg of you, especially if you are a college football fan. And I will see all of you guys in the next video. Goodbye.